Hey guys, it's Mike from Indie Development again, and we're gonna pick up where we left off last video. We're inside of our TicTacToe tutorial activity, and let's go ahead and get started. So we left off here editing our start new game method. So let's go on down to our where we've put our button click listener here, and let's see what we need to change inside this. Alright, so the first thing we can look at is we already see that we have a inhuman player who needs to be changed, and that needs to be to player 1. So put your mouse over it, change that to player 1. So what do we need to look for when we're looking for the clicks? Now that we can have two people playing, then we know it's not just going to be the same person that's clicking every time. Because if it's the local multiplayer version of the game, then it could be player 1 clicking, or it could be the second player clicking. So we need to keep track of that. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to go ahead. We always need to know if the game's over. We always need to know if the button is enabled or disabled. So if the button's enabled and the game is not over, let's go ahead and put in some logic here. So we'll put if M is single player. This tells us if it is a single player game. So let's go ahead and cut this code here, and we will put it inside of here. Control X will cut, and Control V as in Victor will paste, or you can right click cut, right click paste too, whichever one you prefer. But alright, so if we're in a single player game, when you look at this code here, we've already changed this to player 1 from human, which is fine. This will stay the same. There's not really going to be anything that we need to change in this part anymore after we've changed this, because it's going to be the same game that we've always had. If it's a single player game, the only thing that's ever changed in here is when we changed the TicTacToe game.java file. We had a human here, but we changed to player 1 and changed Android to player 2. But so player 1 has changed, and we've changed that right there. So that's the only thing that needs to change in this right here. But we need to go ahead and we need to come down here, and one way you can kind of tell what bracket you should be in is if you put your mouse right here on the right side of this one. It'll highlight this bracket here, so that's where I need to go to put my else statement. So if we're not in a single player game, that must mean that we're in a multiplayer game. So what we need to do with that is go ahead and put in our logic for that. So let's go ahead and we will copy the single player code out of that, Control C, and then Control V, and we'll have to scoot that one back over. So if we're in a multiplayer version of this, how can we set it up so that both players can move? What we need to do here is we need to take out anything that has to deal with the computer moving, because they won't be playing, and we need to put in so that more than one person can click on the board and it can keep track of who's clicking. So first thing we need to do is, since we have more than one player, we need to go ahead and put if M is player 1 turn. Remember that we declared it up top as a Boolean value. So if it's player 1's turn, then whoever clicks will be player 1. If it's not player 1, then we will just copy this right here, paste it, and we will make this player 2. So now if it's player 1's turn and they click one of the buttons on the board, we're going to know it's player 1, so we're going to assign that to player 1. If it's not player 1's turn, then it has to be player 2's turn, so we'll go ahead and set that move for player 2. And we always want to check for a winner. That's okay. Now here's something that we need to look at. As you see here, we have code in here for the computer to move. So if player 1 moved, we'll go up here and look at this before we have changed it. Once player 1 moved, it checks if player 1 won. If they didn't, then so if winner equals 0, it went ahead and changed the text here to let us know the computer's turn. The computer was given a move, it generated a move, and then the computer moved to that spot, checked for a winner again. Then it went on down through the code there. So what we need to do here is, if winner equals 0, we need to change this right here. So let's go ahead and take out, we don't need any of that right there. So we'll take this out. Now the reason that we're going to take out the check for winner is because after the computer move, we need to check and then once it checked, it would let us know if they won or not. But we're not going to need any of that now, since the 2 players are going to be actual people. So what we need to do here is we need to take and put an if statement here. If M is player 1 turn, just like above. So if it's player 1's turn, we need to take this string right here, put it inside. Alright, so now we need to let them know, the little update section we have right under our game board that says whose turn it is. We need to change that and display that it is player 1's turn. So dot turn underscore player 1, you can find it right here. And we need to go ahead and change this to false. You'll see we're actually getting information from this Boolean value, this member function. It is player 1 turn, so we need to change that. So if it was player 1's turn, we need to take it and make it false. So M is player 1 turn equals false. Now we need to come down here and make an else statement. So if it's player 1's turn, go ahead and set the text letting it know, and then turn it to false. And then we want to change this here to M. We can go ahead and just copy that and paste it over. Set this up for player 2 so that it's true. I'm sorry, I did that backwards. So if it's player 1's turn and they click the button, this needs to say player 2. Yeah, that wasn't making any sense to me. Okay. So then it would be player 1's turn is false. Yep. So say we're playing and they click the button. It's player 1's turn. So we set the move for player 1. If there's no winner and it was player 1's turn, then we need to set the text to say, okay, now it's player 2's turn, and make sure that we turn this to false, so that when we click the next button, it will come up here and say, okay, well, this is false, so it'll go into the else and it will set it for player 2. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Now I'll go over a little bit when we actually start it up. I'll show you that in the emulator that it will work. We don't need this right here anymore, so you can take this statement out. Okay. So else if winner equals 1, well, is equal to 1. It's a tie. So really don't need to touch that, because a tie is a tie either way we look at it. Now if the winner is 2, so that means that the human wins, so it would be the player 1 slot would win. We need to change this to result. And you'll remember that, well, I'll show you the string, but it's player 1 wins. We set that string up in our strings. So dot results, player 1 wins. Then we've already changed this from above when we changed the other counters to in player 1 counter. We'll increment, and then it will set the text of the in player 1 counter to the new counter value, and the game over will be set to true, of course. And if there's not a place to play, so if nobody's won, there's a place to play, we can go ahead and play. If it was a tie, so if the winner is equal to 1, then we know that the game's over and it's a tie, so we'll do that. Winner equals 2, that means that player 1 is 1, so game over is true. Increment the counter, set that up. So if it's not a tie, if player 1 didn't win, and there's no open spots on the board, then player 2 had to win. So we'll go down here and change this to result underscore player underscore 2 wins. And then everything right there is kept the same. And we don't really even need to touch any of this right here, because that's just basically saying, when we play, if player 1 plays, which this was already changed from above when we changed that value by putting our mouse over it and changing all occurrences of that to player 1. This used to say mgame.human instead of player 1, but now it says player 1. So that's the only thing we really needed to change in there, and it's already been changed for us. So if it's player 1, they're going to play an X. If it's player 2, play an O. So now that we got that set up, we can save it. And we need to change a few more things in here, because where we have now told them that we need to pass in a Boolean value, you'll see that we'll use it here, but we have some places up here that we did not put that into yet. So we need to go ahead and we need to do that. And that'll be the last part of what we need to work on in this code. So what we need to do is every time they use the menu, so when they click the menu button, you know they got the new game and they got the exit game. So we need to always pass in the M is single player, because it's not going to change. So if the first game was a local multiplayer, the next game is going to be a local multiplayer. So this value will not change, and it will be the same type of game every time. Now this up here is going to be a little bit different, and we're going to come back to this and set this up as soon as we go over to our other the main menu screen.java. We'll set up our buttons to pass in a parameter, and then we'll pick up that parameter in this code here, but we can't do that yet because we don't have it set up. So let's go over here to open up your main menu screen.java file. Let's check, see how we're doing on time here. We're at 10 minutes. We'll go over a little bit this time, but I don't see a whole reason to make another video for this. So let's go to the main menu screen, and let's go ahead and go inside here. Now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to set up our 3 buttons. And one thing I forgot to do, I believe that I had a note here to go back and do that. The values, the layout for the main menu. This is the main menu, the XML look. This is the graphical look here. But let's just go over to the XML real quick so we can change the IDs of our buttons. We need to change them to like 1 player, 2 player, and exit game. So for our first button ID, let's go ahead. We know that's the single player. Whoops. Sometimes I don't know why it does that, but sometimes my XML will mess up. Okay, guess we'll do it in the graphical view because it's going to be like that. So we'll go over here to your button, right click, edit ID. I mean, it's pretty simple to do it this way too. I was just going to show you the XML way, but so right click it, edit ID, and this one will be 1_player. Go to 2 player, right click, edit ID. We'll do 2_player, and it looks like we have kept the button text there, so good thing we did come back in here. So button 3, if you did not remove that text when we was going over it, right click that, edit text, click clear, and then let's go ahead and set the name for this. Right click, edit ID, and let's do exit game. Now we're going to use these IDs to call the buttons in code, as you're going to see here in just a minute. So let's go ahead and save that. We'll close it. Back into our main menu screen.java file, and now we need to go ahead and we need to look up these buttons. We got to find them by their ID. So alright, so we're going to find a button, and we should have to import the button. So put your mouse over it. Well, we'll be able to import it once we get the code in. So find you by ID r.id.1_player. So we're trying to find a button with that on it. See if we can import the button yet. Alright, we'll import the button by hand. So import android.widget.button. Okay. So, and that red line will go away here in just a minute. .set on click listener, and we're going to do a new on click listener, and open curly bracket. So now we are going to do a public void on click, and then view v. I don't know if I can spell view right. Okay. Alright, come down here and put a semicolon right there. Now we need to put import the on-click listener, like so. And let's see what it says. Unimplemented methods. Yeah, okay, well that'll go away here in just a minute. Because we don't have a view, so we have to implement view or import view. So import the view. Okay. And why is this still like that? Oh, that's why. And then we need to put, this needs to go to here, I believe. So that's what it was. Okay, so if you guys can see that, it's correct now. So inside our onClick method, we want to, there's a cool thing you can do. You can actually, it requires you to import the log, but you can set a button and it will show up, like when it's clicked, it'll show you what button was clicked. I'll go ahead and show you how to do that real quick. So log.d, we just put debug, then comma, one player button pressed. Okay, and put your mouse over and import it. So now when we press that button, it's going to actually show us that the button was pressed. We can actually go into the log and we can look at it as it's happening. I'll show you what that looks like. Next thing we need to do is we need to set up a new intent. So we do intent, and we'll just do the really basic intent equals new intent. Then you're going to call the this activity, which is the main menu screen .this, and then we're going to go to the TicTacToe tutorial activity. So put that one next. TicTacToe tutorial activity.class. Now that's all fine, and just mouse over this and import it. That's all fine and good there, and then we can the thing is, we're not going to be able to do a normal one to where we can just go from this activity to the next one. We actually need to pass in a parameter. So how we're going to do that is we're going to use this method of doing it. To go intent, or whatever you named your intent here, dot put extra, and then we're going to give it a key value, which is going to be game type, and we are going to make it a Boolean value. So we're going to do true. So now we're going to put this information in, and we can call this value by, I'll show you how to do it, but we're going to access it by this key here, game type. And then what we're going to do to be able to pass that through is we're going to start activity for result, and then we do intent 0. There we go. So we will go ahead and we'll copy this. Since we're kind of going over on time, we're going to try to hurry here a little bit. Paste in this one. This button is going to be the 2-player button, and we want to change this to 2. And since this will be, since it's not going to be a single-player game, we'll change this to false. Okay. And then of course we need to do the one to for the exit button. So paste that in. It's going to be exit game. Now this is going to look a little bit different. We don't need this stuff because we're not going to another activity. We're actually just exiting. So main menu screen .this .finish, and it will close our screen out for us. It'll close our app out, I mean. So since this is the only activity still left of the application. So alright, so we'll save that. And now that we have this, let's see how we're doing on time here. Almost at 20 minutes, so we'll go ahead and finish that. We're almost there. So now we have this. When we push on the 1-player button, it's going to pass in that it is a single-player game because we're going to have a true value here. We just need to capture that in our other code when we pull up the activity from this. And then if we hit 2-player, it's not going to be a single player, so we're going to pass false. We need to pick that up. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to come back over to our TicTacToe tutorial activity.java file. Now we're going to enter just a few lines here, and the first one is just going to be to actually get the game type that we have. So we're going to make a local variable to our onCreate method here. So we'll come above before we initialize the buttons. It's going to be a Boolean. I'm going to call it mGameType. And this is going to equal get intent dot get extras, and it's going to dot get Boolean. Since it is a Boolean that we're passing, then you'll see here that it wants the string for the key, which is a string variable, to pick it up. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to pass in game type because that's what we named our key. So now we have, when we click on the button, it's going to pass that in. When we create everything up, it's going to grab that and attach it to our member variable of game type. And now all we got to do is when we start our new game, we need to pass that in. It's that simple. So m game type. So now when we run this, let's go ahead and save. Make sure we don't have any more errors. Okay, the red X has went away. So now when we run this, we should be able to have our working application. So let's find out. And again, I did try to go kind of fast through these last videos, so hopefully wasn't too fast. And you guys, for some reason, YouTube's giving me a problem with my the quality of some of my videos. I know most of them just went to 720, and one of them didn't even get into HD. So, but hopefully this one gets to 1080. I guess we'll find out. So we'll start this up. It should launch our application for us. If not, we'll click it again here in a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the message here too. Okay, so let's go back. Since it hasn't popped up, let's go ahead and run it again. See if it'll run it. Alright, there it goes. It's coming out through here. There we go. So now it's running. So now pull this over to the side here so you can see a little bit. Click one player. Now you can actually see here it says one player button pressed. So go back and we'll just try out our two player button press. So see it, and then we got here in the tag we called it debug, just so we could see that. Now if you'll notice, go to one player, click the play, we made an X, the computer went right away. Now it's our turn again. X, it's our turn again, and then it's a tie. Okay, so we can go to menu, exit game. So now let's go to a two-player part here. Now it says player one's turn, click, it should be an X. Now it's player two's turn, click, it's an O, back to player one, X. We'll let player two win this one. Alright, player two wins, incremented the correct value. Menu, new game. You'll see it staying in there. Now since it was player one's turn to start first, now it's player two's turn to start. Click, it's an O, an X. This time we'll let player one win. And increment the correct one. And we can go ahead and just try a tie real quick so that to show that it does work, but don't mess up and win. Okay, well, like that. Anyway, okay, well apparently I can't do a tie because I'm not that smart. Anyway, it's incrementing properly and it does work. So we're over on time, so I'm not going to try again. So we exit game, and the last time we click here, we'll hit the exit game button, and you'll see that we are able to exit our game. So, you know, make sure you visit our website, leave some comments, and register. Go to our forums and all that good stuff. Feel free to like or subscribe. You know. And if you guys see anything else that you might want, any tutorials that we have that you might want expanded on, or if there's some kind of new tutorial that you may want, we do cover a lot of different type of development over on indiedevelopment.co. More than just Android and more than just C#. We also have Z-Man, which is, he's taken over our C++ section, and he's doing some wonderful things. So if you guys want to give his videos some views, I think you'll be impressed. So that's it for me for right now, and I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.